Alright, I'm back with another Destiny 2 video, and today we are taking on the dreaded Solar Warlock class that is supposed to be just the worst, and yet the more people play it, the more people are discovering some pretty crazy builds for it. This is one build that also applies to all three classes, but Warlocks get a little boost that I will explain. Before we get any deeper into this, I have to give 100% credit to Plunderthabooty, the YouTuber who originally posted the video that I watched to try this out for myself to see just how nutty this kind of incandescent damage can get. He was testing with Drang and did a whole lot of tests to see exactly what gets amplified and how. I'm using the core elements of his, and I have my own kind of setup for everything, and I just thought I would go through that and then show a little bit of gameplay. So you by now have probably heard of Incandescent, which is this new Solar 3.0 based trait that can roll on pretty much every solar weapon that came out this season, which is like 6 weapons, I think, 6 or 7. You kill an enemy, and then it spreads Scorch to nearby targets. There's nothing on hit for the enemy you're killing, but the things around it will start burning. This on the Callus mini tool and on Drang can be crafted to an enhanced version of Incandescent. And something may be weird going on here. I've heard that the last patch somehow buffed enhanced Incandescent in a way that it wasn't before. It says it's supposed to spread a longer lasting Scorch, but it doesn't really seem to do that. It seems to kind of it seems to give it a little bit of a damage boost, but it lays the foundation for I think what it's doing is laying a foundation for a multiplier to combine with all of this other stuff that we're talking about to scale up to just kind of absurd damage numbers. But this is the base. You can do this or Drang. I mean, you can really do anything with Incandescent, but I do think the enhanced version is kind of the core of this particular variant of the build. And I haven't tried it with anything that's just normal Incandescent, but I mean, I'm sure it's good. It's just a matter of, this is the mob clearing build, and Drang and Callus are both good for mob clearing. So this is mine. I have enhanced threat detector for lots of stats all the time, because you're always going to be surrounded by enemies. And then minor spec on to just get through stuff even faster. Should probably... Oh wait, no, that's Crucible. Wait, what is this? Oh, Gambit. Oh, because I have the Memento. I forgot to put that on there. Okay, so that's the base of it. And then I'll just kind of go through the other pieces of this, which are in the DAWNBLADE. It's pretty much all fragments. Your aspects don't really matter here. I don't really have any preferences here. This is kind of whatever you want to do. This is not really a part of it. What is a part of it are these. So these are different things that happens when you Scorch targets, or are based on Scorch for the most part. This one is your class ability recharges faster when you Scorch targets, so that's with Class C Restoration, you're always running double rifts as a Warlock. You're running the Empowering Rift, which then gives you healing when you use Class C Restoration to get both at one time, so you always want that up a lot. This is Ember of Ashes. This is a very, very important part of this build because it will build up more Scorch stacks on these targets. This increases their burn tick damage and also will get them closer to actually igniting, which is the other kind of part of this. This is defeating Scorch targets grant melee energy, so this is bonus 10 recovery, and also you will be getting your melee back a lot, and you will need your melee back because you have this. Powered melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies radiant. So radiant is one of the core buffs that you have in terms of amplifying damage again, because radiant not just applies to your weapon damage, it applies to the tick damage, because the tick burn damage counts as weapon damage. So that is one of the buffs that will be increasing your gains there. And then, so I have Incinerator Snap, that's obviously the PvE one. And then this is Plunderthabooty's grenade he had on. He had Healing Grenade on, so you can constantly be putting on instant healing and restoration. It feels a little weird not to use a damage grenade, and yet this is something that you'll kind of have to need to learn once Class C Restoration goes away, so I'm kind of all for it. It also lets you take off the grenade well maker mod, because you can just make mods or make wells through other means. So then we get into so this is both parts here. So Font of Might is when you pick up a solar well, you are going to get increased solar damage. And that is the other buff that will kind of join Radiant to give you an additional boost to your burn damage. And then we have Dawn Chorus itself. So this is the Warlock specific one. You can do everything I just said without using Warlock. I actually do have Daybreak on because it depends on what you're running. If you're running your specific role, you're probably going to use a well. But this is my kind of Nightmare Containment build for just messing around there. So I have Daybreak on. This really does give you a good amount of Daybreak damage. It's not like a top tier super or anything, but it's solid. So this is your Scorch effects deal more damage, and you gain a small amount of melee energy each time your Scorch effects damage a target. So between all this melee stuff we just said, your melee is going to be up all the time, maybe too often. I could probably even take I probably could take the fragment off and replace it with something else, honestly. But this is also lays down another multiplier for your Scorch damage. I think it's a 3x multiplier or something like that. Like, it's very, very good. And this is what kind of takes your tick damage to the thousands. I think if you stack all of this, Plunderthabooty was saying you get like 5,000. The problem is like it's hard to even find enemies that are hard enough to like stay alive to take the tick damage a lot of times. But usually I'm running around finding a couple thousand of tick damage, or mobs just instantly die because they're consumed by it. Elsewhere here, this is I have resilience stack like everyone does for damage reduction. And then this is increases 2xs, which is the trait on MIDA, which gives you bonus damage or bonus discipline and strength while you have a full super. And then, of course, Harmonic Siphon. Then the rest of this is just somewhat standard elemental well stuff, bountiful wells, classy restoration, obviously. And then on this, melee well maker, using melee all the time. This will get your healing grenade back on orbs a little faster. Obviously these two for damage reduction, and then elemental armaments, since you're going to be killing everything with MIDA. That triggers every couple of kills. I have Overload on for those champions in Nightmare Containment, but this can be for a Nightfall or whatever you need. Then some machine gun loader, using that the most often, and then elemental time dilation. This is actually pretty good because this extends the duration of Font of Might by I think 3 or 4 seconds. I think it's 10 at base, and it extends it to 13 or 14. And then the rest of it, so like this is just, these two slots are going to be whatever, dependent on whatever activity you're going to do. This is I like this combo, so this is my Lingering Dread, where everyone's like, oh, Chill Clip doesn't trigger, this sucks, like, this is, there's no point with autoloading. Guess when it does trigger? When you shoot this, and then switch to this. So for the Nightmare Containment bosses, they will be frozen solid when I combo these together, which is very fun. But it depends on the activity. I just got the Stormchaser from the dungeon, which is far and away the best DPS in the game right now. Like, I think more than anything, any exotic, any legendary, like it's absurd. So you're probably going to have that on for most things. If you're doing certain dungeon segments, you might have a sword or something. This, I probably wouldn't normally always have this on. I would probably have a shotgun or one of the new, I forget the name of it. There's the new Stasis Fusion rifle from Crucible. I've got a bunch of good rolls of that, Vorpal, Chill Clip, all that stuff. So that's really been my number one slot for a while. So past this, I'll kind of actually play some footage now so you can see what this looks like in practice. This is Nightmare Containment, so it's not like the hardest activity at baseline, I guess, and yet you can see just how much the multi-tool is functioning as essentially like an exotic here. Most mob clearing you will be doing, like these enemies are going to die almost instantly. Usually if you shoot one enemy, that'll ignite one, and then you shoot another one, and then the remaining enemies that get ignited are probably going to be ignited enough to explode because they've stacked so many Scorch stacks. And the strategy here is to target the smaller, weaker enemies first, because you just want to kind of burst them down as fast as possible. So if you are being swarmed by a bunch of dogs and then like 2 orange bar Centurions or something, don't shoot the Centurions, you shoot the dogs, and then the dogs will spread the Scorch to everything else, and then if there's anything left alive of the Centurions, you can clean those up. But I mean, this makes it a mob clearing tool, like on the level of something like a Risk Runner or a Trinity Ghoul, if you ask me. There is some rumor that this might be bugged somehow, where I think maybe the final tier of like sometimes getting like 5,000 tick damage might be like some weird interaction that's not supposed to actually be happening, where it's dealing like all of the tick damage over time in one fell swoop. But even if the total does end up, being that high, that's still pretty good, and you're going to be consuming most things that way. The other, it's just, it's so fun. I can't get over how fun it is. And like, I've always kind of had fun with Incandescent since the beginning of this, but I was running the, what's it called? The Starfire Protocol double grenade builds with like Osteostriga for, recharging your grenades on healing and stuff. And like, that's a fun build too, for certainly. But this one is more versatile. It can be run across all three classes. Even without Dawn Chorus, you are still going to be just mowing through mobs, and you can use all of the same fragments, and all the same elemental well things, which are really like 90% of the build. Dawn Chorus takes it to kind of a new level, and yet, there's advantages to the other classes too, where Titans have their sunspots, and Hunters have, they can have radiance from their dodge, and like there's other advantages you can find there too. But this is just what I'm going to do on my Warlock for now, I think, because it kind of fits the best. And I was kind of tired of running the Starfire Protocol build, because I always kept blowing myself up on my double grenades if I didn't have Restoration up. So it's a lot of fun. Again, like, we can debate whether this is good, quote-unquote, in endgame content. I think it is for most stuff. I mean, this is one of the best mob clearing builds you can have in the game, and it's Solar Warlock, so you're going to be using a well and a lot of endgame content. GMs are always just like kind of another story, and that's something, GMs want you to be playing at mid to long range, so getting up close and personal with a Drang or a multi-tool may not be in your best interest. It might be a little better this season with just how much kind of absurd damage mitigation we have, and yet I always feel like everyone who thinks they know, what is the good build for a GM is just kind of making things up as they go. I've seen people beat GMs with literally like anything. Like the glaive with its shield blocking is probably one of the best GM weapons right now, and everyone's dunking on glaives all the time for being terrible. So I feel like most of the time people don't know what they're talking about. Myself included in that to some extent. But I think this is easily one of the most fun things you can do with Solar 3.0 across all classes, but especially Warlock if you are complaining constantly about Warlock being underpowered. And well, I do agree with some stuff relating to Warlocks. Like, I don't think two of their aspects should be focused on aerial combat. I don't think that really does anything for PvE, even with the buffs. And yet, I have found multiple builds that are a lot of fun. There's the Starfire one, there's Mantle of Battle Harmony, there's the Claws of Ahamkara, like Double Snap. Like, there is a lot of stuff here that you can have a lot of fun with if you really try. And I don't feel like a lot of people are trying. They're just sad that Phoenix Dive doesn't work how it used to, and some other things got taken away. But this is very fun. I think you will enjoy using it. So hopefully that was enough demonstration footage, and you guys can give this a shot for yourself. Obviously, one of the catches here is that you have to craft a mini tool with, that's the only way you can get enhanced incandescent, and it might not live up to its full potential unless you have a mini tool or Drang you have crafted. So I know people are struggling with those red borders. See my past guides, which are pretty much just do random focusing until you get 5 of one of those, because otherwise it's going to be way too expensive to select focus those, and I do not recommend it. Yep, so that's this build. Again, thanks to Plunderthabooty for showing this off, and deserves all the credit for this. I mean, it's putting fairly basic building blocks together, but I wouldn't have tried it unless there's someone pointed me to that video. So a lot of fun, and don't give up on Solar 3.0. There is a lot of fun stuff here. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later. Take care.